I'm Bethany Anderson of Bethany Heals, and if life's been lifing lately, then you found me just in time. This is a pause, a permission slip to just be. And before we begin, let me remind you, your healing isn't on a timeline. Around here, we don't hustle our healing, we honor it. Trust that your intuition brought you here for a reason. So let's drop into our next archive episode.
Hello, loves, and welcome to a very, very special episode of Life.ing. So today's conversation is actually one of those full circle moments that I just cannot wait to share with you. So a while back, I was having one of these really deep heart-to-heart conversations with my friend Natasha, who was recently a guest on the pod. And I was talking with her about how hard it is to see like this path forward with everything feeling so divided in our country, around the world. And she pointed me to something that felt like a beacon of hope. And that's the Enemies Project. So today, we're sitting down with Sadie Rosen, who's a college student at Washington University in St. Louis, and she's also the head of operations for the Enemies Project, which is a documentary series dedicated to bridging political divides through dialogue. Sadie manages a team, she oversees outreach and casting, and leads the social media strategy. And on top of that, at WashU, she's a principal investigator in the Attitude and Social Cognition Lab, where she's conducting research on the impact of the Enemies Project and its nonviolent political communication. She's passionate about bringing people together, and really just understanding the polarization through both a psychological and a cultural lens. So this episode is deeply personal for me, and I think it's going to resonate deeply with you too. So Sadie, welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Bethany. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited for you to be here. I was just telling her how like this is a dream come true, and I'm just so excited to be able to just share this time and really share what this is all about, because I think it's so needed in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And shout out, did you say Natasha? For referring you guys to us.
It was so random because I've told you a little bit about this too, but I was having a really challenging conversation with my best friend. We were actually on like political oppositions, and we were having a really heated conversation, and I was telling Natasha, like, there has to be a way that we can have a conversation where we don't have to necessarily agree with each other, but we can hear each other. And I really had to believe that there's another way. And I don't know if the algorithm was just algorithming or what, but she randomly sent me your account. She's like, I've never followed them. It just came up on my feed. I think this is your brainchild in real life. Yes. So it really is. It's meant to be. I agree. So, before we kind of hop into everything about the Enemies Project, I really want to just get to know the person that's behind this brainchild. Where does this passion even come from wanting to create this beautiful bridge? I want to hear a little bit about your life story.
Yeah. I think, as weird as it is, I have always been interested in political polarization from a young age. I have a lot of family that lives in the Midwest, super conservative. I grew up in California, very liberal. Over the holidays, we would get together. It was always a great time. Some of my fondest memories are in Ohio with my family. And I remember getting to a certain age, maybe 8 or 9, and understanding political opinions and political views more, and knowing that these people were really opposite from us. And these are the same people that in school, people are like, these people are stupid. These people are out to get us. These people are racist. But when I'm sitting next to them at the dinner table at Christmas, I don't feel that way. I feel loved and I feel cared for and supported. And so that really got me thinking, like, what is this all about?
Yeah.
Why do we have these big divides, and how can we learn to love each other again? So I think that's where it really stemmed from. And from there, every essay that I've had to write that I've gotten the chance to, I turned towards political polarization, and I've understood so many aspects of it just through that. I've read Ezra Klein books over the summer just because I wanted to. So the Enemies Project kind of falling in my hands felt really perfect for me.
Wow. Yeah. How was this even born? I feel like you and your father, it just blew up so
Yeah.
quickly. What was the dinner table conversation where you're like, I have an idea?
So actually, the idea stemmed from my dad.
Yeah.
And for those of you guys who don't know, my dad, Larry Rosen, he is the head of the Enemies Project and the creator, the founder. Basically, he professionally throughout my childhood for the last perhaps 25 years, he's worked as a mediator. He has his own practice, and a mediator is kind of a mix between a therapist and a lawyer, is like how I like to explain it to people. Especially, he specializes in personal relationships. And he kind of, over these 25 years, having these conversations and helping people, it's a lot of the time it's maybe messy divorces or business partners splitting up and they need some legal advice. They don't want to go to court, but they need something in the middle. And so he realized, I'm able to bring these people who thought they hated each other together. And I'm not necessarily able to make them like each other, but I'm able to show them that they can respect each other and care about each other in some way. And so I guess he's kind of come up with this formula of how to help people understand each other. And with maybe perhaps in 2022, he decided, wow, politics is getting more divided and more divided every day. And I feel like I can help. And I feel like I can, this formula that I've created that can help people come together, I can bring this into the political realm. And so that's where it stemmed from. And so that was maybe 2 years ago. And so it's kind of been in the works, a lot of people saying, there's no way you can do this by yourself and have film these conversations, edit it, post it. But we've really worked at it from every angle and we've made it what it is today.
Wow. Wow. It's just so inspiring. What has been probably the most impactful conversation for you where you're like, did not see this ending this way. I'm actually shocked that we got through this.
I think I've had a lot of really interesting conversations. So I interview all the people that will be on the episode. And with that, I interview a lot of people who won't be on the show. And I find these people on the internet or wherever I can find them. And I'm especially looking for people with extreme political beliefs. So those conversations can be really interesting. I remember a specific conversation with a Latino Trump supporter. And I had never met one before. I know that they're a big group that has a big group in the US and then they're on the rise. And I think I've never understood that perspective. And that was one of my first interviews with participants, and I was just there to listen. And I took notes, but I asked some questions. I was respectful as I could be, and I learned so much. And I think that I realized that I lacked some respect for these people before that conversation. And no matter what, if I agree with them or if I disagree with them now, I understand so much more about why they believe what they believe and why they feel like they're fighting for themselves and the people that they care about and the people that they love. And so now going forward, when people are like, I could never understand this perspective, I'm like, well, now I kind of do, and I can share that with you, which is really cool and an eye-opening for me that there's so many perspectives that before talking to these people, you would be like, I just cannot understand why they think that way. But if you really listen and without judgment, you can really get to why they believe that and understand that for yourself, even if you don't agree.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely come to see from just an eagle eyes point of view that we're fighting for the same things in a way, you know, which is safety, it's security, right? It's the love of the people that we care for from very different angles. Very different angles, but ultimately it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs that we're fighting for. And so I'm curious also, how do you stay neutral in these conversations? I imagine that it has to be really difficult. Even with having this outer perspective, we're still human. We're still going to feel the way that we feel personally, right?
So sometimes people ask me, like, before we even get started, like, what are your political opinions? Before I share anything, I want to hear what you are. And I say, this isn't about me. This is about you. And I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to listen. But that's not to say that I haven't had difficult conversations. I have had conversations with people that call themselves white supremacists. And no one has actually personally come at me and said something to me that I felt was super disrespectful. But I think, and this is a theory, I think that the way that I look, I'm Chinese, but I don't think I look Chinese. I think I could be Mexican. I could be a multitude of different things. So people have a hard time putting me in a box and stereotyping me, which I know throughout my whole life because my mom gets stereotyped a lot more than me. And so that's just a theory that I have, is that people have a hard time putting me in a box because on the outside they can't really immediately tell what I am. And so in some ways that's lucky, I guess, that I haven't had those experiences, but I don't know. I think that navigating those conversations is really about remembering that they signed up for this meeting. They signed up for this meeting because they know what the enemy's project is about. They, in some way, feel like they're not being heard, and they want to be heard, and they want to understand someone else. So that's what I try to keep in my mind, no matter what someone is saying about other groups of people, about me, about whatever. They signed up for this meeting for a reason. They're meeting with me. They're taking the time out of their day. They put this in their calendar for a reason. And they, at some level, believe in the enemy's project, believe that the people on the other side aren't their enemy. And no matter what they believe right now, something in them wants to understand another perspective. And that is what I just try to keep in my mind, navigating those conversations.
Right. And I also want to touch on a really big key point with that. With 99% of the time, someone just wants to be heard, right? Exactly. Like you were saying, they're not feeling heard, and that turns into frustration and anger and hate. And it's all because they're feeling tampered down by society, by culture, by social media, whatever it is. And it immediately puts you on the defense, especially when you have people coming at you telling you that you're wrong, right? Or that you're stupid, or why can't you see how terrible this is, or how wrong this is, or whatever it is. And so I think that also tying this into our personal lives, right? When we're having these tough conversations with our loved ones.
For sure.
What would you say are some really helpful ways to even have challenging conversations like this? Because I feel like when it's with someone that we care about, there's a lot more behind it. There's history, there's stories, there's experiences, there's a lot more emotions than talking with a stranger.
I think in having conversations with people that I care about and that I know care about me, that I have a lot of love for, but we have really differing views, it's important, and I guess this is probably just a known fact, but to not be defensive, to just no buts.
It's so hard, though.
It's so hard, especially if you feel like they're just it's wrong or they're misinformed. You can ask why. Where does this belief come from? And usually it's motivated by fear. Usually, from my experience, most political beliefs and a lot of personal beliefs about the world and about society are motivated by fear that the people that they love are not being taken care of. People that they or the people that they love are not being taken care of.
Fear of losing
and
something.
That is something that anyone can resonate with. No matter what they actually believe, fear is something that you can resonate with. That nobody wants them or their family to be in a bad position. Everyone wants the best for the people that they care about. And so I think that it's really important just to understand the why, because the actual beliefs themselves can be whatever. They can be really out there, but there's a reason. There's a deep reason why they feel these things. And I think that that's the most important thing to understand and to get down to, because sometimes they don't even know why they believe it. But if you keep asking, where does this come from, and asking questions to get deeper inside, then you can really begin to understand why they have these beliefs.
Right? It's like, let's get off the surface layers of the politics of it and really get curious about it. That's interesting. Curiosity and working with fear are two very big things in the work that I do as well, with intuitive healing and working with clients on connecting with their intuition and learning to hear and trust themselves. It's always stay curious, be open to what's being shown to you. It gives you permission to take the pressure off of controlling and forcing and things needing to be or look or feel a certain way. And curiosity is that gateway to opening up to different possibilities, right? And to hear different possibilities and experiences and perspectives. And I think especially also with fear, right? Fear is such a heavy energy and it multiplies quickly, right? The more we feed it, the more it grows. I think we can see that obviously in our country today. You know, it is creating a really huge divide, all of this fear, but there's always an opposite to everything, right? I personally believe one of my mantras in life is the opposite of fear is faith, right? And so if we can multiply something so low as the vibration of fear, we can multiply something so much lighter and supportive and expansive as faith and as hope. And, you know, I think that that's what excites me so much about the Enemies Project, because it's facing fear head on and saying, take this faith instead.
Yeah.
And I mean, how does it feel? Just, I know you probably get so many amazing comments and responses through just the videos that you've posted already with the interactions that the participants coming on have had. How does that feel to see like your work in action? Like what comes up for you?
I mean, I think it's a really beautiful feeling that I feel so lucky to have, to feel like I'm making a positive impact in some way, no matter if it's a drop in the ocean or the ocean itself. It's
that
still
drop ripples.
Yes. And so I wake up and I'm so excited to do this work. I mean, I'm addicted to it in some ways. I love it. I love helping other people, and I love this idea that I'm making somewhat of a difference in helping people understand other people. And that's obviously, as I mentioned earlier, something that I've been passionate about since such a young age. And to finally be able to share that with other people, and that other people resonate so strongly, is really amazing. And we get emails every day saying like, you've changed my life. And
wow,
like, what? Me and my dad sitting here on our computers changed your life? That's amazing and incredible feeling to be a part of that, to be a part of someone else's mind changing. I mean, I feel so lucky and so excited for the future that this is what I get to do, and this is hopefully what I'm going to continue to do.
Yeah, I love that. So I am curious, how do you feel like this is showing up within your personal day-to-day life when you're at school? I'm sure there's plenty of debates and conversations that are happening all the time, you know, with your generation stepping into this chaos being at your feet. How has that been, just navigating through life? Like, you have this part of you that's so inspiring and making so much change, and then also still in the midst of it all at the same time. And you're in school. You're doing so many things.
I like to keep busy. That's just who I am. But I think something that I've really been learning and implementing into my own life is this lack of judgment. And I think, I do hate to say it because I personally identify as liberal, but I think sometimes liberals get defensive, and it comes from that place of fear for yourself and the people that you love and the people that you care about, that they're being mistreated. But that can sometimes result in what some people call cancel culture, which is just the immediate shut off of all empathy for this person or this group of people. And I think that is really dangerous. Obviously, if someone is saying something offensive, of course, you don't have to agree. You can even voice your opinion, but to turn off all empathy really scares me. And that's something that I see. I go to a pretty liberal university, and I think that's something that I try to navigate in my personal conversations is, yes, I understand what you're saying about why these other people are bad, but does that mean that they are not people? They feel this way for a reason. And I maybe I don't even personally agree with them, but I still see them as feeling that way, and those emotions and that fear on their side being valid. And I think that's something really important to remember. And that's something that I try to implement into my own life. Especially on my college campus, there's a large proportion of Jewish students. Like, I think it's one of the most Jewish universities, but also being at a liberal university, there's also a lot of people that are really in support of Palestine and Gaza. And that is always a very difficult conversation to have because it is so close to people's hearts. And so emotional and so scary. And I've talked to people on both sides who have no empathy for the other side, even though the people that they're in class with, that they have conversations with about their homework and about whatever, class in general, those are the people that are their enemies. And that I think that is really, really scary. And just to be able to show each other that these people on the other side aren't your enemy is really important. And yeah, I try to implement that in every aspect of my life that I can.
Wow, it's so hard. I have been with this time around, with everything escalating so much, I have been guilty of cancel culture, right? Of unfollowing, and I had to stop myself and be like, no, I want to do something different. I want to show up differently, right? Obviously, everything that we've done in the past isn't working, because look where it's got us, this cancel culture, instead of having the conversation. Is the conversation easy? Usually not. Does it suck? Most likely. But at the end, like, ultimately, what we're trying to get to is some type of understanding with one another, right? And even if I don't agree with what someone else is saying, how can I see the person behind the mask or behind this curtain of beliefs and so many layers of experiences and stories that have been even placed on us, that we've taken on as our own, and how can we start to even just form our own opinions for ourselves and create a new narrative, And
I do think that there's a hard difference to make about protecting yourself and your mental health. Perhaps you're following people on Instagram that are saying things that you find offensive and that are hurting you. And obviously you're not just going to stay following them because, they have their beliefs. But, so I think that is difficult to kind of sometimes decide, is this harmful for me or is this beneficial for me in understanding why they experience that? And so I think that that's always something to keep in mind, that you never want to put yourself in a position where you're going to go out there and get hated on or feel like people are offending you or harming you in some way, which can be really difficult.
It is. It really is a balance between, and I think that's what we're going to figure out over time of what that looks like, right? It's funny. I had written a post on my Substack about this, about what if this is really an invitation to be a bridge right after the Charlie Kirk shooting. And I remember someone commented, I'm really going to have to sit with this. And I was like, good. I love that. Sit with this thought, marinate with it, and really notice how you respond. Like, notice that inner dialogue, right? Of what comes up when you do ask yourself, can I let this be a bridge? And what are those immediate feelings that you get in your body, or those immediate thoughts that maybe initially you want to just shut it down and just cancel everyone out. But it really is a battle. It's a battle, but I think it's a battle worth fighting for. So, okay. You're also doing research too, like, right, about the progress of the Enemies Project. What are you researching? What are we finding out? What are the interesting things where you're just like, wow, I want to hear?
So I am actually, next week, I'm running the first participants. So I actually haven't started collecting data. It's been a work in progress, getting everything situated with the IRB, which runs all psychological experiments, and with the school and everything. But basically what we are measuring is people's attitudes towards political and social issues, specifically Israel and Palestine, before they watch the video, how much they think they understand the conflict, how empathetic they are towards certain groups. And it just asks a series of questions, and then the same questions again afterwards. And I hope the participants don't hear this, because then it would ruin it for them. But yeah, so they watch one of the hour-long episodes, which is, in my view, very powerful, and gets to the root of why both people have the opinions that they do, their fears, their loves. You see them connect, you see them cry, and I think that it was moving to me, and I really hope that the results show that watching this type of media can have an impact, because we know that it's had an impact firsthand on the participants that are on the show. They say, wow, I see it in a completely different way now. But for someone sitting in front of their computer watching this on YouTube, can it have an impact on how they see the world? And so that's what we're trying to measure. And hopefully, I'll keep you updated, but hopefully the results
please,
are good, and that people become, people see it as less black and white. It's a very contentious issue on our college campus, again, as I said. And so any conversation about Israel and Palestine is really hard to navigate. And I think a lot of people, again, are really scared, and that kind of does lead them to see it as kind of black and white. But I think just to recognize that there's people on both sides is really important, and that is what we're trying to show.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Where do you see all this going? You're like, I actually already have it all planned out.
Well, I am currently a junior in college, and I sometimes do honestly feel scared that I'm putting my eggs in one basket. And, you know, my roommates and my friends have internships, summer internships, jobs now, working at other places, and I've decided that the Enemies Project is how I want to spend my time. And so my hope is that I am able to continue this work out of college. And I am not exactly sure what that looks like, but I love what I do. And I've never felt so passionately about a job, about about anything. I mean, I love it, and it's really fulfilling, and I end each meeting feeling good, and I don't feel burnt out. I love it. And so moving forward, I hope to continue running this organization, and I hope that it can explode. And I think explosion would look like perhaps full-length episodes on some sort of
Yes,
actual
right. I see
streaming
it.
service. Yes, where
I
it's
see
funded.
it.
That would be great. I think that the end goal is the end goal is to diffuse extremism. And I think that in order to get there, I can imagine political leaders having these conversations. Maybe hosted by my dad, maybe hosted by someone else who is in a similar line of work, but people on both sides sitting down, political leaders, and having these conversations and showing both sides. The other person, the other side, I don't know about political leaders in general, the other side is not your enemy.
Yeah.
They're not your enemy. And so that is a big goal, to have an AOC and a JD Vance together talking. And I can imagine that conversation would get very heated very fast. But if they stopped and they talked about what they love about their life, what they value about their family and their friends, they can begin to connect and then slowly transition that conversation to politics. And I think that would be mind-blowing to the general public.
Yeah.
So that is, in a perfect world, the end goal. But
I love that.
We'll
I can even see like a cross-country tour where this is done live. So we can get large groups of people in an area to sit and be a part of this, right? Because I was just thinking about how I wonder how the participants that are in this, what are they bringing home? What are those conversations like when they get home? After going through this whole experience, what's happening out in the community, you know?
It has been really interesting because so basically during these conversations, almost always they come to love each other. They hug at the end and they cry and they say, I didn't think that I would feel this way towards you. I feel so connected to you. And then we've gotten a few calls maybe a couple weeks later saying, I'm really struggling because perhaps this person was liberal, and they go back to their liberal bubble and they tell their liberal friends, I love this conservative guy. He's great. If only you guys could understand him. And the liberal friends are like, what are you
Shut
talking
it down.
about?
Yeah.
You made friends with a monster. Are you crazy? And then so this person is like, what did I do? Like I told people that I would defend this conservative person. I said that on video, and now I'm back home and I am just confused that I now that I'm back in my bubble with all my people, how did I think that way? And I think that is it's a reality of having these conversations, then going back to your community of like-minded people. And so I'm interested in having continued conversations of participants like down the road, maybe a year from now. How are they still feeling? Do they still feel connected to the other person? Because as soon as you go back into people who agree with you,
it's just,
then there's no reason to think anything different.
Yeah. I think that's the next piece, right? It's what does that look like after the conversation and moving forward, and what are the tools that we need to integrate into our lives that are going to help us to continue forward with this trajectory, right? So we don't get stuck in this beautiful moment of time where we finally had connection and then that's what all that was, right?
Something that we are working on right now that I'm really excited about is called the I'm Listening Project. And I don't know if I shared any of this with you, but basically we've gotten so many emails saying, I want to be just like Larry. I want to do what he does. Please, how can I get into this work? Can Larry train me? Can I shadow him? Can I host these conversations and mediate these conversations? And the conclusion we've come to is no. Most people, I mean, my dad has 20 years of training,
Yeah.
and in nonviolent communication, in just experience, and hosting these conversations between two really emotional and really maybe extreme individuals is very hard to navigate for a newbie. And I would
Yeah.
consider myself a newbie. I don't think I could do it. And so instead of having people host these conversations, we are piloting a program right now called I'm Listening. And basically it's to get people that are interested in this line of work of bringing people together out in the streets, talking to people that they disagree with, and simply listening to them. And that, I think, is really powerful for someone who views me, this liberal college student, radical progressive, as the enemy. For me to listen to them and say, okay, and to keep asking questions and respectfully, and to really understand why they think this way, they will leave that conversation like, wow, my enemy just listened to me? Like, that is crazy. And obviously that gives the person who's hosting the conversation practice in this skill of listening to people who they maybe strongly disagree with. But
Yeah.
I think especially for that other person who sees you as the enemy, to be heard is really special, because a lot of the time people don't get that opportunity to be heard by people that disagree with them.
Yeah. Yeah. This reminds me of when I was in high school. I lived in a town that was very racist. We would have race riots at my high school. Like, it was bad. I was eating lunch in the library to avoid the race riots. And it got to the point where it was just happening in other schools as well. And so what the school district did is we had a summit, and we, for a weekend, brought students from each high school together for the weekend to just talk. So we had white supremacists, and we had all of these different minorities and cultures come together. And by the end, we're crying, we're hugging, it was such a beautiful experience. And it was extremely challenging, especially as a teenager, to be having these really challenging conversations and tough
I
conversations.
can imagine that even being scary.
Yeah.
Going into that environment.
And it was just really, really, really powerful work. And so I love this I am listening, because I feel like it's very similar to that, where it's like, okay, let's just come together and sit down and just hear each other out, and, bringing this into as many cities as possible,
Yeah. Yeah. So right now we're in the pilot stage of this. So we're figuring out all the kinks and stuff, and we hope to bring this program to anyone who wants to do it and make it accessible as possible. So keep a lookout for that on our website. Hopefully the program will be up within the next few weeks, and we will be posting these videos on our social media, encouraging other people to do the same. And I think that it does take, as you said, with your experience in high school, it takes bravery to have these conversations, especially if you feel like people are out to get you. That's a really scary feeling. And to sit down with them and to not argue with them is really brave. I think that's really brave from any perspective. So yeah, I give big kudos to all the people who are interested in doing this work, and I think that everyone can make some sort of difference in diffusing these extreme views that we see today.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking about something that you said earlier about your mom, and how, being judged for her outward appearance, and you as well. And I'm just thinking about everyone else in their day-to-day lives, and how we can navigate feeling judged by our outside appearances or our beliefs. And how do you move through that? And what are maybe some things that we can do as an individual to feel empowered in those times, right? To be even open to listening.
I think I want to start by saying I think that being able to listen is a privilege. And it has to be
Yeah.
great. I'm glad you resonate with that. Because there's certain positions where you can't talk to these people and feel safe having these conversations.
Yeah.
Because you fear for yourself or the people that you love. And so I think being able to physically sit down with someone and listen to them is in some ways a privilege. And I feel lucky that I'm in this position where I'm able to do that. And I don't blame the people that can't. I think that it includes bravery, but it also includes, having this sense of a little bit of privilege. And so I think that when thinking inwards, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I've quite figured that out yet.
Yeah. How do you navigate that for yourself?
How do you navigate that?
Oh, wow. I would say for me, I used to be very judgmental and critical on myself, right? So I would take everything in that people would say to me or make fun of me, for the way that I talk or the way that I look. And I used to absorb all of that and carry that weight around me. And I used to try to fit in as much as I could so I wouldn't have to receive that. But I think there comes a moment where, or at least for myself, where I realize that I'm not changing. I can't change how I look or with the genetics that I was given or how I speak. Like this is me. And I think that when it comes to feeling in certain spaces and places, this really defeating judgment, the best thing we can do for ourselves is to love ourselves and to remind ourselves of, this is the body that I was given. This is the soul that I have. This is the heart that I was given. Let me empower this space so I can show up differently and how I actually want to. So we're not having to show up with these masks or these judgments from others, but actually just showing up as we are. And I've come to see when I have interactions with other people now, because I stand so strongly in who I am, it's like they have to match that energy. They have to respond to it. Even subconsciously, they respond to it, you know?
Oh, I completely resonate with that. I think something for me that I have struggled with externally, not necessarily struggled with, but I've felt sometimes inferior in a way, is that I am 4'11". And so I literally look up to everyone. I literally look up to everyone. And obviously when I was a child, everyone was small. But now I'm an adult. And I'm still looking up to everyone. And I used to think, well, in my next life when I'm tall, people will respect me. But I only have this one life. And I am lucky to be in the position that I am. And I think I need to take full advantage of it. And to think automatically that since I'm physically looking up at people, they are looking down on me. That is not a good mindset to go into conversations with. And so I have a loud voice, and I think I have a big personality, and I've kind of filled that gap that separates me from people. But that is something that's taken a lot of time and aging and maturity, and I'm still young, so I still think by the time that I'm old and I'm shrinking, I will love my height, and I will not want to change it for the world. And I think I still have a lot of learning and growing to do, but just thinking about me 5 years ago and what I felt like and how I feel so comfortable in my body now is really special and gives me hope for other insecurities that I have. You can figure it out, and you can grow from it, and you can learn to love these aspects of yourselves that you used to despise.
Yeah, yeah. And I think even with what you said about this is the life that I have, is the one that I'm in right now.
Mhm.
How do I want to live it?
Yeah, of
Right? It's that constant check-in with the self of
course.
how am I showing up for myself today? Does this feel aligned with where I want to be, with who I'm
Yes.
becoming? And if it doesn't, what needs to change so I can be aligned with that person that I see like deep within myself or want to become, you know?
Exactly. I think
Wow.
that makes for a really fulfilling life. Without love for yourself, how can you love other people? That's something that I've learned the hard way.
Haven't we all?
But it's an
Yes,
important lesson to learn, no
it
matter when
is.
you learn it.
It's important and it's necessary. And I think that with the Enemies Project, that's one of the biggest messages. It really is about love, right?
Of course.
And how can we love each other and stop hating each other
Yeah.
for our difference in opinion or beliefs or whatever it may be? How can we start to live differently?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I know that y'all are finishing up a Kickstarter right now. How is it going?
Yes, we are in the middle. Well, our Kickstarter goes on for a month. It launched a week and a half ago. I think we've raised $32,000 so far.
Wait, you're $3,000 away?
Yes, yes. I do want to note that was a lower goal than we hope to achieve, in that
Yeah.
Kickstarter only gives you the money if you reach the goal. So if we set a really
Wow.
high goal and we didn't reach it, you get $0, which
I
really
had no
sucks.
idea.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
crazy thing. I don't fully understand why it works that way, but I know it does. So, yes, I feel so excited that so many people care about this work and that we're seeing this in financial donations, but we still have a lot of work to go.
Yeah.
As you know, we have been self-funding this project. My dad, not me. I don't have much of my own financial say in it, but yeah, we've put a lot of our family's money and time into this, and I hope that can be rewarded and just furthering the work that we do. I hope that we can continue to do this work, but of course, money is always needed.
Yeah.
in everything.
Yeah, we got to keep the show going, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we will definitely have that Kickstarter link in the show notes below, y'all. So
Thank you,
even
Bethany.
$1 helps. Like
Yes.
honestly, everything helps. So especially if you want to give some energy into something that's actually making a positive change in the world, this is something to pay it forward to. I'm so excited for y'all and for all of the things that you're going to be doing in the future. And so how can we find you?
Well, you can find us at The Enemies Project on Instagram, at The Enemies Project on YouTube, at Enemies Project on TikTok, though we have and this is surprising to me, a very little, like, no following on our TikTok. Sometimes I wonder, maybe it's a shadow ban issue because we're talking about political things.
That's what I was thinking. Yep.
But so I've learned a lot about social media in our website at theenemiesproject.org. Yes.
Okay.
At the
I think
Enemies
that's
Project.
wild that you locked in that handle everywhere. Like, how has no one thought of that?
Well, my dad originally, he was like, someone must already have the email address enemiesproject@gmail.com. So our email is nmsproject. Because he just immediately thought that someone would already have that name. But then I looked it up, and now we have the Enemies Project email address as well. But he just assumed that someone would already have it. So I'm like, yeah, our email address is nmsproject. You're like, is that a spelling error? I'm like, no.
No, it's not. But I think that's also kind of cool. I feel like that's universal confirmation that this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing, because I just think that name would have been taken by now with the billions of people on this earth. And the fact that was locked in everywhere, it's just confirmation of, yes, easy to find, easy to get to. You can find it anywhere and it's always the same name, I love that.
Yeah, it was meant to be. And I think choosing the name The Enemies Project was kind of bold in itself because we're about love and connection and care, but it is about bringing enemies together. And I think that that's a powerful name and something that sticks in the mind. The Love Project is nice and it's wholesome, but it doesn't stick as well, in my opinion. And I think that name's already taken. So,
Sadie, I'm just so grateful to have you on Life Be Lifing, to just be able to share the work that you're doing and your personal experiences and insights and just what you're building. It's just such a game changer. And I know that I can't wait to see all of the amazingness that comes from this. And anybody that wants to reach out or connect with the Enemies Project, their contact info will be in the show notes. But thank you for joining us. And who knows, maybe we'll have you on once you're all blown up and exploded everywhere and you're just out here with JD Vance and AOC and
We'll see. I might be back at that time. Thank you so much, Bethany. I feel so lucky that you wanted me to come on your show and that you want to listen to what I have to say. And I had a great time today.
Yay. All right, y'all. We will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Moving forward, every Sunday, I invite you to join me in The Hearth. The Hearth is my free online circle. We meet on Zoom every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm providing intuitive guidance for your week ahead. So when you come in, I tune into the energies of our circle. I break down all of the things that I'm seeing for your week ahead and provide intuitive guidance. I pull oracle cards for what's best going to support you and just to give any type of advice or insights that come up for you as well. So we do take some time to connect with one another. I really just wanted to have a space of community that's trust-based and just really honors giving ourselves even just 30 minutes to set ourselves up for the following week. Like it can be such a game changer when you just take that little window of time to come back to yourself and to be in community.